I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Do you remember movies before the idea of cinematic universes? It seems crazy to think that there used to be a time when movies were released and existed in their own self-contained worlds that did not overlap with other franchises. Those were the days. As much as I love what Marvel Studios has done to replicate the fictional realms of their comic book source material, it also means we have less chances to see films that push in their own directions without needing to pay service to the bigger picture. While this year's Joker certainly showed that DC is going to return to telling edgier tales without worrying about collaborative team films, at least for now, there was a time not too long ago when Superman and Batman were the sole comic book franchises that Warner Brothers had going for them. And then came Green Lantern. I'm Alex Mady, and welcome to The Unpopular Opinion. Before Marvel launched their cinematic universe, output based on their comics included Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, X-Men, Daredevil, and others. They existed as standalone movies focused on the various superhero characters that had only become filmable in the 21st century thanks to advances in special effects. Once Disney combined all of their properties, did the superhero genre become something more viable for executives to greenlight. But that was Marvel. DC had no cinematic universe aside from Bryan Singer's retro homage Superman Returns, which continued the original Christopher Reeve series, and Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, which had a finite end date. Nolan's films were not the same type of movies as what was coming from Marvel and Disney, and it seemed damn near impossible to launch a slew of films using that same realistic approach. It wouldn't be until 2013, when Man of Steel hit theaters, that it seemed like DC could successfully hang with Marvel at the box office. But everyone forgets about 2011's Green Lantern.
Green!
There is a lot of hate for the Ryan Reynolds starring film from both fans and critics, which is somewhat unfair. When Green Lantern was announced with Reynolds in the lead and director Martin Campbell at the helm, there should have been at least some recognition that this was not going to be the next Batman Begins. First and foremost, the entire character of Green Lantern does not work in a realistic universe. This is a guy recruited by an intergalactic police force to wield a ring that can take on the shape of whatever he thinks of. That and the majority of his teammates are bizarre aliens straight off the comic page. Something tells me this movie was never going to give us a grounded look at a fighter pilot being introduced to extraterrestrial life. In hindsight, doesn't that plot sound eerily familiar to this year's blockbuster hit Captain Marvel? What is the big difference between that movie's CGI-heavy success and DC's quote-unquote failed Green Lantern? The answer is not much. While Green Lantern was stuck in development hell since 1997, with everyone from Kevin Smith to Quentin Tarantino offered the chance to make it, it was not until the 2004 approach of making it an action comedy written by SNL veteran Robert Smigel and starring Jack Black that things turned around. While that didn't happen, David S. Goyer was given the chance to write or direct Green Lantern or The Flash, but the studio instead went with his buzzy script for Batman Begins. Enter Greg Berlanti, the man who would go on to create the CW's Arrowverse and give fans the DC shared universe they never got on the big screen. Co-written by Berlanti with Michael Green and Mark Guggenheim, Green Lantern was inspired by the comics arcs by Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, Dave Gibbons, and Jeff Johns. With a ton of characters straight out of the comics, what WB needed next was a talented filmmaker. Martin Campbell is that director. While I would never mistake Martin Campbell's films for high-class cinema, they are exciting thrill rides that exemplify why we go to the movies. GoldenEye, Casino Royale, Mask of Zorro, Edge of Darkness, all are roller coasters that cater to the swashbuckling nature of their screenplays. Campbell approached Green Lantern much in the way that Sam Raimi did with Spider-Man. He set out to make a comic book movie. The visuals are quite stunning throughout the movie and really make you feel the alien nature of what the Green Lantern Corps represents. While some felt the use of CGI was excessive, I thought electing to make Hal Jordan's suit all CGI was the right move, as it gave the outfit a much more alien feel. If Reynolds had just been jumping around in a black leather outfit covered with lights, wouldn't have worked nearly as well. Which brings us to Reynolds, who, at the time, had not broken through to the level of success that everyone expected of him. With matinee idol good looks and one hell of a sense of comedic timing, Reynolds was perfectly suited for a superhero movie. Turns in both X-Men Origins Wolverine and Blade 3 gave us a test reel for what Ryan Reynolds could have done in Green Lantern. His delivery is perfectly suited for a douchebag who must learn to be the savior of the universe, and his physique is already superhuman. Ryan Reynolds is by no means a bad actor, but he also hadn't proven to be a dramatic one at that point either. The great thing about Green Lantern is he doesn't have to be a thespian to deliver the somewhat cheesy dialogue that every movie of the genre employs. Not until Deadpool was the world ready to accept Reynolds as a superhero, but it was Green Lantern that proved it. Even the bad guys work in this film. Peter Sarsgaard's Hector Hammond is a well-conceived villain along the lines of Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn in the original Spider-Man. He is a man with hidden ambition who becomes something inhuman. Couple that with the already non-human Parallax as voiced by the great Clancy Brown, and you have both sides of villainous threat, the man and the monster. Some have criticized making Parallax a dirty floating shit cloud, but this isn't the faceless enemy from Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Parallax is a conscious beast that we do see and can feel the threat of. One of the shortcomings of using CGI to the level they do in Green Lantern is that it does lose some of the impact on the audience who don't feel the threat to the characters is tangible. But, on the other hand, the fully CGI world of Oa, home to the Green Lantern Corps, feels very tangible. With the voice work of Jeffrey Rush as Tomar-Re and the late Michael Clark Duncan as Kilowog, the other Lanterns don't feel like cartoons but actual alien colleagues to the newest member of their team, Hal Jordan. The only other physical actor in these scenes is the amazingly cast Mark Strong as Sinestro. His thin mustache and widow's peak show no one else could have played this role. He is a mentor and leader to the Lanterns, and any fan of the comics knows he is on his way to becoming one of the biggest villains in the franchise. Strong carries this part and is an equal parts comic book homage and classic movie villain. While Green Lantern 2 never materialized, I'm glad Mark Strong got another chance to play a DC bad guy with his much different performance as Dr. Sivana in Shazam. Blake Lively may not be playing the strongest female character in any superhero film, but damn is she nice to look at. As the object of Hal Jordan's affection, you could have found a lot of other actresses who could have filled the role as Carol Ferris, but would they have been as big screen-worthy as Lively? The character in a future film could have transformed into Star Sapphire, and I for one would have loved to see Lively in a skin-tight bodysuit ready to do battle alongside Ryan Reynolds. Their chemistry is palpable, as evidenced by the fact that they would go on to get married and are one of the sexiest couples in Hollywood. Add to Lively the great Tim Robbins and Angela Bassett in minor roles, and you have a great cast for a movie like Green Lantern. As far as origin movies go, Green Lantern had a much higher hill to climb than any other. The idea of an entire alien police force in a massive universe is quite a concept to cram into a 2-hour film. We aren't dealing with a psychopathic clown, a megalomaniac genius millionaire, or even a drugged-out man-lizard. The origins of Green Lantern are wholly alien, which makes this movie much more of a science fiction film than a superhero one. But with the complex origin now told, future Green Lantern films could focus on the Earthbound hero using his powers to take on foes terrestrial and otherwise. Martin Campbell and Ryan Reynolds have taken the brunt of the blame for issues on Green Lantern, but they really didn't have to. The movie may be goofy and overly complex, but it is fun and succeeded where many doubted it ever could. Superman has had a hard road back to the big screen, but people can relate easily to him as he is both an everyman and more. Green Lantern is an average man forced into a much larger role in a massive universe. We easily forget that both Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy series have similarly complex backstories. While I think the world of Asgard has the problems of gods fighting gods and therefore takes the human element out of the equation, and Guardians of the Galaxy is less about traditional superheroes, Captain Marvel proved that audiences can suspend their disbelief for a tale as out there as this. Reconsider Green Lantern. It isn't trying to be the epitome of superhero films, but rather tell a space opera adventure tale within the format of a comic book movie, and it does a visually impressive job to boot. But hey, that's just my unpopular opinion. Tell us yours in the comments below. I'm Alex Mady with JoBlo.com.